you, what is one word that describes your state right now? In chat, go for it. Wow, stressed, panicking, tired. Yeah, I'm hearing you. Overwhelmed. Exactly. That's why we're doing this, because that's the feedback that we've been getting so much of in many worlds at once. That feeling of being scattered and pulled apart is just so common. So when we put this together, I'm so sure so many of you even thought, well, I don't even have the time for this webinar, let alone holding my life together. But it's so important that you're giving yourself that time, because this is all about you. So I'm sure you aren't even aware of it, but everything you need right now is in this room. And we're going to facilitate that so you have access to all the resources that you need to get through this. So I want to share a story. My son Brent is going to be a theme that comes through this, because when he was growing up, I was exactly that. I was overwhelmed. It was never ending. I was in panic mode constantly, and I didn't know how I was going to cope. He hated school, and I needed to really trust my gut, because so many people were telling me this, do that, do the other. And that's exactly what's happening right now in the world. Go to school, don't go to school, keep them at home, go 1 day a week, go 2 days a week. And it's about bringing yourself back to yourself and actually trusting that you as mom knows what's best for your children, because you do. You absolutely do. So when I got to that stage where I thought, okay, I've got to get over these thoughts that he's going to be a dropout and he's going to turn to drugs and he's going to end up in jail and what's going to happen to him. And I went back inside myself and I thought, I know this kid. He's mine. No one else can tell me what is best for him, because I know the truth. And that's where you've got to go. You've got to go back inside of you, because this is not about your children. This is about you and what you are going to be doing during this crisis. So when you hear the words homeschooling, what happens to you? Write in a word. What happens to you when you hear the word homeschooling? Brain explodes. I love that. It's so expressive. Yes, it's like a pew. Okay. Red flag to a bull. Too much time in the computer. Exactly. It's Luciana, welcome, and thank you for that, because everyone's trying to get their kids off tech. And now all of a sudden, all they're doing is being on tech. So the worry is, and I've been speaking to so many top psychologists that I really respect, and they are finding that parents, especially with kids under 15, are in desperate mode. Jen, thank you. This whole idea is doing it right. What am I supposed to do? How do I do this right? I'm not a teacher. Let's face it, guys, if you wanted to homeschool your kids, you would have been doing it before COVID even hit. And now you're faced with having to homeschool. And so parents are desperate. They are so worried about, what about social? My kids are going to become totally antisocial because they're not seeing their friends. And my kids are out of control. And what's going to happen to their brains? And what happens if they don't get the grades? What happens to their future? So when I've spoken to psychologists, they are saying that parents are now beyond freaked out. They are so worried about what's going to happen to their children's futures. Well, let me tell you something. I was there. I was so worried about Brent's future. And all I can say to you is that he turned out fine, because your children are not worried about their future right now. What they are worried about is, how is mom and dad coping with this? They are getting everything from you. So if you are panicked, guess what? They are going to be panicked. I have had 2 conversations with 2 moms in this week. One of them just freaked out completely. And I had to speak her down because she thought, I can't do this again. I cannot go back into homeschooling. I cannot be around my kids 24/7 and work and do everything else. I had a conversation yesterday with a very close friend of mine who is a yogi and she meditates. Well, yep. What happened with that? She exploded yesterday. She screamed and shouted at her kids so badly, and then she went into guilt mode. Well, what is guilt? Guilt is simply anger turned inwards. And you've got to look at why you're feeling guilty and why are you so angry with yourself? Because this is not your fault. This is a really, really real situation. COVID is a real situation. And I don't believe that the conversations are happening with parents or for parents. It's happening with teachers and it's happening with governmental people, but no one is actually speaking to parents and giving them the tools to cope with what they're facing right now. So COVID has pushed us into a situation that we've never faced before. However, you have. So I can guarantee you that you have processed past experiences exactly like what you're facing right now. It's just wrapped up in a different wrapping. So it's maybe a coat, but just a different kind of coat. And so we're going to look at that. What I want you to do just for a minute is to close your eyes in the room where you're right now and think about a situation that was really hard for you to get through, but you managed. So think about that situation where you had a really tough time, but you were successful. You got through it because you're sitting there right now. So what character traits came through for you during that period of time? Who were you in that period of time? Try to think about who you felt like in that moment when you were facing this massive problem. And you got through it. And you're going to get through this. Because in that moment, who could you trust? What could you trust? And how did you work through it to get to the other side? Because let's face it, there's no going around it. You've got to go through it. So thinking about all of that, we are just in that exact same situation. It just looks different. How are you feeling just hearing that? Let's get it in chat. Is that resonating with you? Karma, thanks Jen, puts things into perspective, feels true, because it is, Randy, it is true. You've gotten through other things and you're going to get through this too. So what traits could you think about that you have to draw off now to get through this? Because if your kids don't read that one extra book, does it really matter? Seriously? If they don't feel like sitting down for 8 hours at a time in front of a laptop, is that going to be a destructive routine for the rest of their lives? Because how would you feel sitting in front of a computer for 8 hours in the day? It's not going to feel so good. So what got you through was really probably going a lot with the flow, being more flexible. So Luciana, so what are you worried about if it's not the learning? What are you worried about now with the homeschooling? So in times like this, when you look at really adverse situation, whether it be the Holocaust and you're looking at camps, or you're looking at now probably with Beirut and this bomb going off, it is a time where we either tap into our hero or we tap into our victim. So Randy, holding my kids' grief and loss and the social aspect and the amount of time on the screen are so profoundly important, because this is a loss for everyone. And I decided to sit here with my kitchen behind me, because this is the real world right now. We're not in a boardroom like I'm used to being, or in a school. We are sitting in our homes. And so what your kids are watching now is who are you. So a little story. Just before I was emigrating, Brent was already in his 20s. And I took him out for lunch. And he got out of the car and he said to me, "Mom, I want you to know, I haven't listened to one word you told me my whole life." And then he stopped and he said, "Aren't you pleased you lived it right?" And I just welled up and obviously started crying, because what he was telling me was, I'm watching you. You are my role model. I'm watching to see how you are dealing with life and the world and what is important. So, you know what, Randy? Loss and grief is part of life. And you need to teach your kids now through yourself, what are the resources that they can build within themselves to deal with that. And the social aspect, there are ways of being social. So skateboarding at the moment in a skate park where they are outside. We're lucky it's summer now, right? They can be outside and social distance and have fun. Horse riding. You know, there are ways of being social and interacting that are safe right now. And that's where your creativity comes. Because how are you being social? How are you being creative? And that's where I love the conversation going with the children themselves and say, okay, this is the situation. I need you to be safe, because that is non-negotiable. As a parent, you want to safeguard your kids. So how would you like to social and socialize with your friends that is safe? And you can brainstorm that out. So what are you teaching them? You're teaching them critical thinking. You're teaching them team build, because they're working with you as a team. And you're teaching them problem solving. Now, isn't that important for life? You talk about social emotional learning. So now we get back to you. You can find your hero inside you right now, and you can bring it to the fore and go, I have conquered difficult times before, and I'm going to conquer this. How am I going to conquer? I'm going to learn new skills. I'm going to be that person, because I know if I learn now, I'm going to have those tools and skills for later on in my life. And the more you grow, the more you can teach your kids. Or you can go into victim mode and go, this is terrible, I hate this. And so there's terminology that is orphalization or catastrophization. One is where you're saying everything is awful. This is shocking. Everything is terrible. I can't cope with this. Or everything's a catastrophe. Nothing's going to be the same. The world is a terrible place. Why did I bring my children into this world? So it's very important to watch what you are thinking, because your thoughts create your emotions, and your emotions create your thoughts. So when you go into that place where you go, oh, I can't breathe, take the breath and say, I can. I can do this because I've done something before. How's this feeling for you right now? Let's stop and take a moment and connect. Send it out to me. Aha. Mira, what's the aha? Share with us, what is your aha? There are aha moments in life all the time. So Mira, it gives you the tools. That's beautiful, because when you have the tools, you have got something more to share with your children. And it doesn't matter how small they are, because some of you on here have got 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds, and others have got older kids. But it is never too early or never too late to give skills and tools of how to cope with life challenges. So Tam helps you to connect to how they're feeling and how to respond and listen more. Exactly. This is a conversation to be held in your homes or going for a walk. It rewires me exactly to listen more. Thanks, Mira. Exactly. Because this is about communication. And you can say to your children that I'm afraid right now. And obviously keep it age appropriate, but you can share in order to bring them into the space so that they are heard, because they are going through this. This is one of the most profound times in history where your children will be able to say, I lived through the pandemic. So Luciana reminding me that I'm the role model was priceless, and that there are so many things that are worse. Imagine that people not long ago went through horrible wars. Absolutely. Sharing and letting them be aware of the situation is very important, because this is going to be part of their life journey. This is part of their timeline. So it's important for them to have perspective. And what really do we need? We need food on the table. We need a roof over our head. We need good health. And the most important thing with all of that is communication. They need to be able to express this to you. But if you're freaking out, do they want to talk to you? I very much doubt it. So, like with an aeroplane, and it's a very commonly used example, you've got to reach up for that air first before you can give your children that oxygen. And that's what this is so important about. So, choices. You are facing so many choices right now. So another story. Brent was at a great school, but actually not for him. It was destroying him. He had no self-confidence. The teachers were literally destructive for him. So in grade 11, I had enough of watching my child being destroyed. So one morning I woke up and I went, done. I called the principal of another school and I said, I've got to bring Brent now. And he said, get in your car, don't take him back there, bring him here. And you know what? It was the best decision that I made, but I didn't make it alone. I made it with Brent because it's his life and he needed to feel comfortable with it. So we went off and they got him. They got that he couldn't sit behind a desk for the whole school day. So they allowed him to go walkies. He was the only kid that could get up and go walking around the school whenever he wanted to. And you know what? He got all his top grades and got straight into engineering or anything else that he wanted because they got him. So the choices that you are making now need to be made not only from your intuition as mom, but discuss it with your children. Do you feel comfortable going back to school? How do we make you feel safe? How do we make you feel like you are okay right now? Because if you are afraid, What are they feeling? And how do you make them feel brave and courageous and safe? Because that is the lesson that they're learning right now. So what do you do when you are at that hysterical point where you are losing it, like that friend of mine, and she blew at her kids? What are you doing to bring yourself back from that edge? Let's hear it in chat. Who is finding this reactory behavior just exploding? So Randy, call a friend, move my body. I love that. Christian, breathe. So important. Take a breath, meditate, breathe. So what's so wonderful is that you're getting it. Breathing is the most essential tool and skill for yourself and for your children. Breathing is a technique. So if you do this now with me, breathe in for the count of 7. So breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hold it for the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and breathe it out for as long as you can. Now, that literally rewires the chemistry that's going on in your brain. And if it works for you, then it will work for your kids. Teaching them a breathing exercise is so important. So if they are sitting in front of the computer and they feel, I just need a break, listen to them like I'm listening to you right now and say, okay, let's breathe. And teach them that breathing technique. A lot of walking. Walk around the house or the apartment, or just go for a walk outside if you can. Take a break. So that is a beautiful technique, as well as sharing with your children. They've all had tough experiences. It might not be tough in your books, but it's tough. Maybe they had to learn to ride a bicycle, or maybe make a new friend at school, or go to a new classroom. And so like I took you through that process of that you managed to get through that tough time, do it with them. Say, you know what? Things are not so easy right now, but you've done it before. Let's find something that you found was tough and look how you got through it successfully. So talk to them, communicate with them as we are doing now. And hopefully just by speaking now, you are feeling calmer. You're feeling more centered. And that's what you want to do for them as well as for yourself. So again, we go to thought creates your emotions, your thoughts. So how are your thoughts happening right now since we've gone into the session? Are they shifting? Or are you still feeling very, very stuck? Let's hear it. What's happening? Let's have a check-in. More hopeful. Kristen, thank you. Shifting. Definitely shifting. Okay. So, less alone. I'm smiling. There we go. It's community. And that's why we did this. So that you could have a community. And we're going to be asking you. We're going to be calling you, and I'm going to be giving one-on-ones at the end. We're going to put a Calendly link so that you can come straight through to me. And if you want a 30-minute free with me, I'm here for you, because we've all got to do this together. So, and then we'll see what are the next steps. Because if you want the community, we're going to build the community so that we can all do it together. Because as I said to you at the beginning, I'm here to facilitate. That's what I do. I facilitate all the resources that you have inside of you already. And we just tapping into that. So let's talk about self-soothing. So self-soothing is emotional, it's physical and mental. Now I've got a great story to share. So I emigrate here and I'm a mess. I've left my 2 children, I've left a massive career, and I cried so hard all the way on the plane that I had the air hostesses bringing me ice to put on my eyes. And my husband-to-be in Atlanta, hysterical because he didn't know how I was going to land. And my thought is, how am I going to survive? What am I going to do in this new place? No friends, don't know the system. How am I going to actually live here? Petrified, was not even close to how I was feeling. So I get here, and obviously I'm crying on a daily basis. And my husband now, Alan, doesn't know what to do with me. So he calls my daughter, and he says to her, Jade, what must I do? I don't know what to do with her. So she says, run her hot baths and light candles, because everyone who knows me, all my friends know, when I'm in a bath at a weird time of day, I'm dealing with stuff. Best you leave me alone, because the candles are lit and the bath is run, and that is my haven, so that I'm gathering myself and I'm doing self-soothing. So the one day Alan walks into the bathroom and I'm lying in the bath and the candles are not lit. And he takes one look and I can see the panic in his eyes. And he says to me, the candles aren't lit. And I look at him and I burst out laughing and I go, I'm okay. I don't need the candles tonight. I'm actually okay. But he learned very quickly what it meant for me to self-soothe. And that is so important, that you know, how are you going to self-soothe? Because you can't always go for a run and you can't always go for a walk. So what are you going to be doing to self-soothe? So you've got emotional self-soothing, which may be a hug. It might be a hug from someone that you need emotionally. It's mentally, like Randy, you said, calling a friend. Maybe that self-soothes you. It's the physical. For me, getting into a bath was so soothing on all my senses. That's why I used to light candles. I still do. Light candles. Maybe it's getting into a bath with a glass of wine, because that's good for you. And not the bottle, the glass. Okay. So self-soothing is really, really important. And as you're going through all of this, not once a week, it means daily. Daily. And teach your children. This is how mom is going to self-soothe. Teach them the wording. We've always believed that children don't need anything dumbed down. Lift them up. So explain to them what self-soothing means and discuss with them what they can do to self-soothe. Maybe it's doing a puzzle. Recently, I was in Australia with Brent had back surgery. My self-soothing was coloring in, a coloring in book. Because I could just sit there and it was mindless and I had pretty colors to choose from. And so that was my self-soothing. So what are you going to be doing to self-soothe? Let's hear it. And the big thing, wine, but need to find another way too. Okay, we really don't want any kind of addictions happening right now. So yeah, hiking, reading, meditating. Thanks. What else? You got to have something that you can do at home as well. So self-soothing is a lot of different ways. Talk with my husband, hug my son, do puzzles, read books, taking a walk, cooking. Love it. Yes, Randy. Now you're in home as well. I take a long shower. I color too. I read. I do puzzles, watch nonsense on TV. Cooking. Yes. Now, this is not a once a week thing, guys. You have to have different kinds of self-soothing every single day. Decorate cakes. Bathing and candles is also self-care. Absolutely. Loving this. So what do we do as moms or as parents? We put ourselves last. And what happens when you fall apart? Generally, the household falls apart. So happy mom, happy household. So it's very important that you are doing these things every day, even if it's 5 minutes. Because I promise you, when you fall apart, everything's going to fall apart around you. When you hold on, everyone's going to do that. But at the same time, I really want you to acknowledge what you are facing. Don't dismiss this, that, oh, it's easy, I've got this, I'm cool. No. Things are tough sometimes. And when you own it, then it's okay. Give yourself that permission to say, today I'm having a wobbly day. You don't have to be brave and courageous all the time. It's really about acknowledging what we are facing in the world is completely different to what we've ever thought we were going to face before. So it's about being really honest with yourself and saying, I need to self-soothe right now. I need to do this. I need to be more flexible, and really go within to trust your intuition. If you've seen your kids falling apart, don't make them sit in front of a computer for 5 hours. Talk to the teacher and say, this is just too much. Have a voice. They are your children. You are going to be holding them for the rest of their lives. I promise you that. I have a 33-year-old and a 30-year-old, and I'm still there. So that teacher is going to be there for a year, maybe 2, maximum 3. So trust yourself. Use your voice. Don't be afraid to say what you believe your children need. It's very, very important. So all of this is like, I was thinking about it today and thinking, what is all of this like? It's like giving birth. And you in it and you go, oh, I don't know if I can do this, but there's no going away from it. That kid is coming out, and it's coming out now. And then it's over. And then you realize, I gave birth. Now, let me tell you something. All you ladies on here, you gave birth to those children. If you can go through that, you can go through anything. And you can get through this too. So we've been discussing for 45 minutes now, almost 45 minutes, how tough this all is. So now let's shift gears. What is the smallest thing you can commit to for yourself that tomorrow will be a better day? What are you going to commit to? The smallest little thing that's going to make your day better tomorrow. Let's hear it. Taking a breath. Thanks, Mira. Taking a breath, so important. Go outside. Going hiking with a close friend resets me. Put myself first. Luciana, what does that mean? It's also what you're thinking, guys. How about stopping? Luciana, take time for myself and do things I love. Absolutely. We'll stop working at 5. Natalia? Yep. Take the pressure off. Otherwise, it becomes like a pressure cooker and it's going to explode. Do one thing a day that makes me happy. I love that. And so maybe you want to create a list of what things make you happy. And every day you can choose something. But every day you have to make a commitment to yourself, because no one else is going to do it for you. It's going to be up to you. So it's about either tapping into that hero or that victim. And how about just a really simple thing? How about reminding yourself every morning that you're a fabulous human being? Like, how's that? Have you ever turned around and said, I am a fabulous human being? Really? Just waking up and getting through your day. Sometimes that's success. I have a friend whose father always used to say, some days just tying my shoelace is success. And that's what I think. Some days when I'm wobbly all over and I get through the day, the fact that I've made the bed and I've gotten dressed and I've gone grocery shopping or I've done a certain amount of work, that is success. Not every day needs to be perfection. And if you are reaching to be a perfect parent, and if you are thinking that you can protect your children from life, you are going to be terribly, terribly disappointed, because you cannot protect your children from life. But what you can do is be a great role model, and you can give them the resources within themselves to deal with anything. And that's the most important gift that you can give them, because then you know they're set for the rest of their lives, whether they are living with you or whether they've flown the nest and they're living alone. And one day they're going to be parents too. So giving them all the protection is not always the best thing. So if you think about yourself, I've got a very close friend in New York who's a top pediatrician in Manhattan. And he says he first saw helicopter parents who would hover around their kids to make sure they're okay. And then he started seeing snowplow parents. What does a snowplow parent do? They just scoop away everything to make it as easy as possible for their children. Well, how is that helping them deal with challenges? You're setting them up for failure, because one day they're going to have to face a challenge. And we're living in it. We're living in a challenge right now. So instead of just focusing on the academia, focus on yourself and focus on all the amazing lessons that your children can learn that will set them up for life right now. So if you think about that, what lessons can they learn from you right now in the situation that we're facing? What are you thinking? Amazing, Mira. Flexibility and adaptability. Exactly. Because that's what life takes. If you're going to be staunch in your way in life, you're going to be literally broken. It's like one of those palm trees. It sways in the wind. Otherwise, it would break. Emotional stability. So important, Luciana. So important. How to be flexible, adapt when it might not be what you choose. The idea that life isn't happening to you, but happening for you. Thank you, Randy. Have fun in the daily grind. Yeah. And just to acknowledge that this is a journey. So maybe it's not about just getting 90% or 100% for every test. What's more important is that social emotional learning for our children. Because let me tell you that 90% or that academia will get them a job, but it won't give them a life. So Jen, patience, flexibility, remember to have fun. Absolutely. These are the lessons to teach children and at the same time, remind yourself. Because I promise you a lot of this, you have forgotten. And that's why you are so freaked out. Because you thought one thing, you had it in your head, the kids were going to go back to school, we were going to go back to normal. And now it's not that way. And so now you're faced with this situation that you don't necessarily like, want, or signed up for. But that is the reality. And so what are you going to do with it? Are you going to be the hero or are you going to be the victim? How committed are you to your own self-growth? Because this is a perfect opportunity because you really don't have an option. You have to face it, just like the rest of the world is facing it. You don't have to face it alone. And that's what's so beautiful, because everyone in the world is going through it. In our lifetime, this is the first time that the entire world is facing the same problem. So what are we going to do? Wake up every day and be miserable? Or are we going to wake up every day and go, okay, how am I going to make this work? What is the commitment? And what can I do today to uplift myself? And when you uplift yourself, you will uplift your children and everyone else. So for the last bit, I want to open up to questions and hear what you want to hear or you want to chat about. And next time we do this, we're actually going to create a meeting because we did a webinar. And so what it did was that you can't see or meet each other. And I apologize for that. In future, we are going to do a meeting so you can see each other and get to know each other and build community. And that's what we're all about. So what's coming up for you right now? I loved it. A meeting would be great to connect with moms in the same space. Definitely. Tam, promise you, we are going to be in touch with you all and we are going to create that. And whoever wasn't on this of your friends, if you feel it's valuable, absolutely we will be doing that. It's wonderful to share with others. When the house is crazy and loud and stressful, I short circuit. What do you recommend in those moments? When I know we are together, it's so much better. We might know these things, but we need constant reminders. So easy to forget when it feels so stressful. This is great. Would love to invite friends who would benefit. So I was giving a really big workshop. Obviously, it was face-to-face in those days. It was in a corporate. And one of the directors, it was a woman, said that when she comes home, she sits in her car for like 30 minutes to calm down and prepare herself before she goes into the house. Because the minute she goes into the house, it is chaos. And she would rather be at work than be in the house because she can't cope with the chaos. So she worked out a way of parking outside the house for 30 minutes to actually center herself and prepare herself for moving into the house. So Kristen, there is a way that needs to resonate with you, that when things are getting crazy and you feel like I cannot cope right now, where you can remove yourself from that. And everyone needs to understand that in the house, where I'm not coping right now. I need a breath. And if you get to do that, then everyone else gets to do it. So when your kids feel like, I'm not coping right now, it's about listening and saying, okay, time out. Not because you've done something wrong, but because I need to catch my breath. And everyone needs to learn that. So I was a single mom for 14 years. My children need to learn they had to learn boundaries very early on. So I'm sure you can all relate to this because it's funny, and I think all moms do. All moms have this, is that you can't even go to the bathroom by yourself because one of the kids is following you. And I have to tell you, that goes on until they're old, because I've still got it where I go, can I just go to the restroom by myself? Okay? So there were boundaries. I was also running work from America. I was working with Americans. So nighttime, I was on computer and on the phone. And I had to be very strict to say, this is mom's working time. When that door is closed, it is closed. And that means unless you are bleeding, unless this is an emergency, you have to leave me alone. And so boundaries are very important. And it teaches children that there have to be boundaries in life because that's the world. Wherever you go, healthy relationships have boundaries. And there you go, another lesson that you can teach them right now. And you need to find out, Kristen, what is going to work for you in your household, because every household is different. So it's about respect, communication, and boundaries. And no one goes over that. That means you have to respect your children's boundaries as well, if they're just needing time out, if they're just needing a break. Kristen, I hope that helps. Please just let me know in chat if that helped you. So great, thank you. My greatest pleasure. And we are going to be putting in the chat. I'm going to be doing it now. Calendly. So I'm going to put that in right now, and it goes directly to my calendar. And please use it. We've created it for you. You have a 30-minute time with me. If you want to use it, no pressure if you don't. This is not like anything that you have to do. And we will be in touch with all of you to see what else you need from us and what you would like. And how can we support you? Whether it be a course that I'm happy to create and put together. One of the ideas was that we delve deeper into each one of these things. So self-soothing, what does that look like? What does that feel like? What do you create? What does that actually do to you on a physiological level? Resources and skills, very important to have, so we can create that. So we will be in touch with you, and we will find out exactly what you want and how you want to move forward from here. But I've loved being with you, and thank you for making your time, our time, and making yourself a priority. And I hope tomorrow you wake up and you keep that commitment to yourself. And remember, it's not all about the academics or everything else. It is about what you can role model for your children, what they need right now. And the most important thing is trust your gut, trust your intuition. They are children. Everyone's going to tell you what to do with them, but they're yours. And no one knows a child better than their moms. So I'm giving you lots of love and affirmation that you've got this. You've got this. And you're doing it already. And you've done it in your lives. So have a beautiful evening. And thank you. Back to you. Thank you so much for being with me tonight. And I look forward to staying in touch with you. Have a beautiful week and a beautiful weekend. and just shout if you need anything else. So signing off now. If you'd like to stay on, I'll leave the chat room open for you. If you want to ask me anything else, please stay on. So I'll wait a little bit for anyone who wants to be on. But if you're ready, please feel free to leave. Good night, everyone.